The stars looked cold through the bridge windows of the UES Vengeance. Commander Jake Morrison stood with his arms crossed, watching the empty space where a Federation research station used to be. 23 years had passed since the aliens kicked humanity out of their fancy galactic club. 23 years of silence. "Sir, I'm picking up something," said Amy Brooks from her station. The young communications officer had bright eyes and quick fingers. She was one of the few who still believed they might find other humans out here in the dark. Jake walked over to her console. "What kind of something?" "Debris. Lots of it." And Amy's face went pale. "There's a distress beacon. It's weak, but it's there." "Federation?" asked Lisa Kane. The tactical officer never trusted anything that came from alien space. She had good reason. The Federation said humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable. They said humans would bring war to peaceful worlds. So they threw humanity out and left them to figure things out alone. "Unknown," Amy replied. "The signal is scrambled." Jake looked at his crew. Lisa with her sharp mind and quicker temper. Amy with her hope that never seemed to die. Pete Sullivan, the engineer who could fix anything with spare parts and strong language. They had been flying together for 3 years, searching the outer rim for signs of other human colonies. "Take us in," Jake ordered. "Slow and careful." The Vengeance moved through the debris field like a shark through dark water. Pieces of metal and plastic floated past the windows. Some pieces were big enough to be ship parts. Others were small enough to be personal belongings. Jake had seen too many of these graveyards over the years. "There," Pete said, pointing at his scanner. "Something's alive over there. Small ship, maybe a shuttle." "Life signs?" "Faint, but yes." Jake made his choice. "Bring them aboard. Full quarantine. Protocols." An hour later, Jake stood in the medical bay looking at 5 alien survivors. They were reptilian creatures with green scales and large yellow eyes. One of them, older than the others, stepped forward. "I am Dr. Veltar of the Zephyrian Science Institute," the alien said in accented English. "You are human." "Last I checked," Jake replied. "What happened to your station?" Dr. Veltar's eyes grew darker. "The Devourers came. They consumed everything. We barely escaped with our research." Jake had heard whispers of the Devourers, machine creatures that ate entire worlds. The Federation tried to keep it quiet, but rumors traveled fast in space. "Why should we care?" Lisa asked. Her hand rested near her weapon. "Your people threw us out, remember? Said we were too dangerous for civilized space." Dr. Veltar looked at each human in turn. "Because the Federation is losing this war, badly. And because," he paused, seeming to wrestle with something. "Because they were wrong about your people." "How wrong?" Jake asked. The alien doctor activated a small device. Holographic images filled the air above them. Star maps, battle reports, colony records. Jake's blood ran cold as he saw the truth. "These are human colonies," Dr. Veltar said. "Worlds your people settled before the Great Abandonment. The Federation told you they were evacuated. They told you everyone was brought back to Earth safely." Amy gasped. "They lied." "Worse," Dr. Veltar continued. "They marked these worlds as forbidden zones. When the plague wars began 10 years ago, they left your colonists to face the Devourers alone. No warning, no help, no evacuation." Jake felt anger building in his chest like a fire. "How many colonies?" 47 confirmed. Possibly more. "How many survived?" Dr. Veltar's expression was hard to read, but Jake thought he saw respect there. "All of them." The bridge fell silent. Lisa spoke first. "That's impossible. Without Federation support, without supplies." "Your species is remarkable," Dr. Veltar said. "Where other races would have fallen in months, humans adapted. They fought, they survived, and from what our long-range sensors show, they thrived." Pete let out a low whistle. 47 colonies, all still fighting. "More than fighting," Dr. Veltar corrected. "From what we can determine, several have become quite formidable. The colony at New Dakota has held off 3 major Devourer assaults. Kepler's End has somehow weaponized their asteroid mining equipment. Green Valley has developed biological defenses that make their entire planet toxic to machine life. Jake looked at the holographic display showing human colony locations, dots of light scattered across the galaxy's outer rim. His people, forgotten, abandoned, but not dead. "Why are you telling us this?" he asked. Dr. Veltar shut off the display. "Because the Federation Council is desperate. The core worlds are under threat. Billions will die unless someone can stop the Devourers. And despite everything that happened, some of us remember what humans are capable of in war." "You want our help?" Lisa said. It wasn't a question. The Council would never officially ask. Too much pride. But there are those of us who believe humanity might be our only hope. Jake turned to look out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, human colonies were fighting alone against impossible odds, just like Earth had been doing for 23 years. The Federation had tried to forget humanity existed. Instead, they had created something they never expected. They had created survivors. Amy set course for the nearest colony on that list. Jake ordered, "Sir?" Amy's fingers hovered over her controls. "We're going to find our people, all of them." "And then?" Pete asked. Jake smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Then we remind the galaxy what happens when you abandon humans and expect them to stay dead." Dr. Veltar watched the humans with something that might have been fear. "What will you do?" Jake turned back to the alien. "What we've always done, Doctor. We'll take care of our own. And if the galaxy wants our help against these Devourers, they're going to learn that humanity remembers everything. Every colony left behind. Every distress call ignored. Every promise broken." The Vengeance turned toward the first colony coordinates. Behind them, the debris of the Federation research station continued to drift in the cold space. Ahead lay the answers to 23 years of questions. The galaxy had abandoned them. But Earth remembered its children. And soon, the galaxy would remember why they feared humanity in the first place. Captain Diana Foster had seen many dead worlds in her 15 years of deep space patrol. But New Dakota wasn't supposed to be dead. It was supposed to be empty, evacuated, gone. The UES Retribution dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system, and Diana's jaw nearly hit the floor. New Dakota wasn't dead at all. It was alive, armed, and very much aware of their arrival. "Captain, we're being scanned," reported her communications officer, Tony Martinez. "Multiple sources. Some of them are pretty sophisticated." "How sophisticated?" "Military. Grade, maybe better." Diana studied the tactical display. New Dakota showed signs of heavy industrial activity, orbital platforms that hadn't been there 23 years ago, ship movements that suggested a decent defensive fleet. This wasn't a forgotten colony scratching out survival. This was something else entirely. "Open a channel," she ordered. "New Dakota Colony. This is Captain Diana Foster of the United Earth. Ship Retribution. Please respond." Static filled the bridge for several seconds. Then a voice came through, clear and strong. "UES Retribution, this is Governor Carl Hayes of the New Dakota Defense Force. You're flying an Earth ship in restricted space. State your business." Diana felt a chill. The voice was human, American accent. But the tone was cold, military, and completely unfamiliar with Earth protocol. "Governor Hayes, we're on a mission to locate human colonies that survived the Great Abandonment. We thought New Dakota was evacuated." A long pause, then, "Negative, Captain. We were left behind, just like the others. Permission to come alongside?" "Others?" Diana's heart started beating faster. "What others?" "I'll explain when you dock. Transmitting approach vectors now. Be advised, any hostile action will result in immediate destruction of your vessel." Diana looked at her crew. Tony's eyes were wide. Her tactical officer, Ben Cooper, had his hand near the weapons console. Her engineer, Kate Adams, was already pulling up schematics of the colony's defensive systems. "Those aren't mining platforms," Kate said quietly. Those are weapons, big ones. And there are at least 30 ships out there that could give us serious trouble. From a farming colony? Ben asked. Apparently not anymore, Diana replied. Take us in, slow and peaceful. The approach to New Dakota was unlike anything Diana had ever seen. The orbital platforms were clearly converted agricultural domes, but they bristled with weapons that looked both alien and human. The ships that escorted them were definitely human-built, but modified with technology she didn't recognize. When they docked at the main station, Diana was met by a delegation that made her reassess everything she thought she knew about colonial life. Governor Carl Hayes was a tall man with gray hair and the bearing of a career soldier. Beside him stood Defense Chief Marie Jackson, a woman whose smile was friendly but whose eyes never stopped analyzing potential threats. "Welcome to New Dakota, Captain," Hayes said. "I apologize for the hostile reception, but we've learned to be careful about unexpected visitors." "Hostile visitors?" Diana asked as they walked through the station corridors. Everything was clean, efficient, and military precise. This wasn't a struggling colony. This was a fortress. Devourer scouts mostly, Marie explained. They've been probing our defenses for 8 years now. We've destroyed 17 of their advanced ships. Diana stopped walking. "You've been fighting." "The Devourers alone?" Hayes nodded. "Along with 46 other human colonies. We maintain contact with most of them. Share intelligence, tactical data, resource allocation. 46 others," Diana repeated. "All fighting. All surviving," Marie corrected. "More than surviving. We've adapted." They entered a command center that put Earth's military installations to shame. Holographic displays showed real-time information from across the sector. Ship movements, resource flows, defensive positions. It was a war room designed by people who had learned to think like generals. "Show her the development timeline," Hayes said to one of his officers. The displays changed to show New Dakota's evolution over the past 23 years. The early years looked like what Diana expected from an abandoned colony. Struggle, hardship, making do with limited supplies. But then something changed. Around year 7, the industrial capacity took a sharp upward turn. By year 10, they were producing their own ships. By year 15, they were exporting finished goods to other colonies. "What happened in year 7? Diana asked. "The Devourers found us," Marie said simply. "They expected easy prey. What they got was a very angry farming community that had spent 7 years learning to hate being abandoned." Hayes activated another display. "The first attack cost us 30% of our population. The second attack cost us 10%. The third attack cost them an entire strike force." "We learned," Marie continued. "Every attack taught us something new. How they move, how they think, how they die. We shared that knowledge with every other human colony we could reach." Diana stared at the tactical analyses. These weren't desperate survivors hiding in bunkers. These were military strategists who had turned abandonment into an advantage. "The Federation left us with nothing but basic supplies," Hayes said. "No advanced weapons, no military advisors, no support of any kind. But they also left us with something they didn't expect." "What's that?" "They left us angry," Marie replied. "And they left us human." The tour continued through manufacturing centers, training facilities, and research labs. Every child on New Dakota learned basic combat skills alongside their regular education. Every adult served in the defense force. Every resource was allocated with military efficiency. But it wasn't grim or oppressive. People smiled, children played, families thrived. They had simply learned to be both citizens and soldiers. "The other colonies," Diana said. "Are they all like this?" "Each one adapted differently," Hayes explained. Kepler's End turned their mining operation into orbital weapons manufacturing. Green Valley bioengineered their entire ecosystem into a defensive network. Terra's Edge became a shipbuilding center. Every colony found their own way to survive. And you're all in contact? Regular communication, trade agreements, mutual defense pacts. We're not just scattered survivors anymore, Captain. We're a network." Diana felt a mixture of pride and sadness. Pride that humans had not only survived but thrived. Sadness that Earth had missed 23 years of watching their people grow into something magnificent. "Governor, I need to ask you something," she said. "Earth never forgot about the colonies. We thought you were all evacuated. If we had known." Hayes held up a hand. "Captain, we know Earth didn't abandon us intentionally. The Federation lied to everyone, but the result is the same. We learned to stand on our own." "And now?" Marie smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. "Now we're curious to see what Earth has been up to, and we're very interested in meeting the people who trained the crews brave enough to come looking for us." Hayes nodded. "But understand something, Captain. We're not the same colonists who left Earth decades ago. We're not farmers and miners and researchers anymore." "What are you?" Marie answered for him. "We're what happens when you leave humans alone in the dark and expect them to die quietly. We're what the galaxy created when they abandoned us." Diana looked at the displays showing 47 points of light scattered across the rim. 47 colonies. Hundreds of thousands of humans. All thriving, all armed, all very much alive. "Governor, I think Earth is going to want to meet all of you." Hayes smiled. "I hope so, Captain, because the Devourers are massing for something big. And, when they come, the galaxy is going to need every human it can get." Admiral Ryan Clark stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station, watching the most impossible sight of his career. 47 human colonies, scattered across the galaxy's outer rim, were all reporting in. All alive. All armed. All ready for war. The holographic display filled the entire room with points of light, data streams, and communication links. Each colony was different, but they all shared one thing. They had survived what should have been impossible. "Sir, we're getting another transmission from Kepler's End," reported Lieutenant Sandra Price from her communication station. "Their mining chief wants to discuss orbital weapons manufacturing." Ryan nodded. Kepler's End had been the biggest surprise so far. The asteroid mining colony had turned their industrial equipment into the most devastating space-based weapons anyone had ever seen. Their mining lasers could cut through Federation battleship armor like paper. Put him through. The display showed a weathered man in a mining suit standing in what looked like a weapons factory. Steve Parker, the colony's self-appointed defense coordinator, smiled at the camera. "Admiral Clark, good to see you again. I've got some new toys I think Earth might be interested in." "What kind of toys, Steve?" "The kind that turn asteroids into guided missiles. The kind that can strip mine a Devourer ship while it's still moving. The kind that make Federation admirals wake up in cold sweats." Ryan felt a grim satisfaction. The Federation had spent 23 years calling humans too aggressive for civilized space. Now they were about to learn what aggressive really looked like. "How many can you build?" "With the resources we've got, couple hundred per month. But if Earth can supply raw materials, we can triple that." Another voice cut into the conversation. Dr. Helen Cruz from Green Valley sounded tired but determined. "Admiral, we need to talk about biological defenses. The Devourers are adapting faster than we expected. My latest spore networks can hold them off, but not forever." Ryan had read the reports from Green Valley. The agricultural colony had turned their entire planet into a living weapon. Biological agents that dissolved Devourer armor. Plant networks that could coordinate planetary defense. Organic computers that learned from every attack. "What do you need, Doctor?" "More colonies with suitable ecosystems. If we can establish defensive bio-networks on 12 more worlds, we can create overlapping zones of protection." Overlapping zones? Think of it as biological area denial. Any Devourer force that enters protected space gets eaten by engineered organisms. Literally. The communication board lit up with more incoming transmissions. Colony after colony reporting. Their capabilities, their needs, their readiness to fight. Each had developed specialties that no one on Earth could have imagined. Terra's Edge had become a shipbuilding powerhouse, producing vessels that combined human engineering with salvaged alien technology. New Shanghai had developed information warfare capabilities that could crash Devourer command networks. Rocky Point had turned their mining operation into underground fortress complexes that could house entire fleets. But it was the personal stories. That hit Ryan the hardest. Children who had never seen Earth but sang human songs. Families who had kept traditions alive through decades of isolation. Communities that had grown stronger instead of weaker when left alone. Jake Morrison's voice came through from the UES Vengeance, now serving as a coordination ship between the colonies. Admiral, we've got a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up massive Devourer fleet movements. They're massing near the Federation core worlds. How massive? Bigger than anything we've seen before. Thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. Ryan looked at the tactical display. The Federation core. Worlds were 2 weeks away at maximum speed. Even with humanity's newfound capabilities, it would be a desperate fight. Sir, Sandra called out, priority transmission from the Federation Council. They're requesting immediate military assistance. Ryan almost laughed. 23 years of silence, and now they wanted help. Put them through. The display showed Ambassador Kethavar, a tall alien with blue skin and too many arms. The Federation's chief diplomat looked like he hadn't slept in days. Admiral Clark, the Federation formally requests Earth's assistance in defending against the Devourer offensive. We are prepared to offer full restoration of humanity's membership in the Galactic Council. Ryan looked around the command center. His officers were watching him carefully. This was the moment 23 years in the making. Ambassador, I need to discuss this with my people first. Admiral, we don't have time for lengthy negotiations. The attack begins in 72 hours. Then you should have thought of that before you abandoned 47 human colonies to die alone. The alien's expression shifted. Admiral, surely you understand that wartime decisions. I understand that you left children to face some monsters alone. I understand that you wrote off entire worlds of human families. I understand that for 23 years you pretended we didn't exist. Ryan turned to his communications officer. Sandra, open a channel to all colony commanders. Full broadcast. The display split into dozens of screens showing colony leaders from across the rim. Governors, defense chiefs, scientists, engineers, miners, farmers who had become generals. All human, all survivors, all waiting for his decision. People of the colonies, Ryan began. The Federation is under attack. They're asking for our help. The same Federation that abandoned you. The same Federation that left your children to fight monsters alone. Governor Hayes spoke first. Admiral, what's Earth's position? Ryan had thought about this moment for weeks. The easy choice would be to tell the Federation to solve their own problems. The human choice was more complicated. The Federation made their choice 23 years ago. Now we make ours. But we make it as humans, not as their forgotten colonies. Marie Jackson's voice came through clear and strong. What do you need, Admiral? I need to know if 47 colonies on Earth are ready to remind the galaxy what happens when you back humans into a corner. Steve Parker laughed. Admiral, we've been ready for 23 years. Dr. Cruz nodded. My biological networks are already preparing offensive variants. The Devourers won't know what hit them. One by one, every colony commander confirmed their readiness, not as Federation allies, not as grateful refugees returning home, as humans who had learned to survive in the dark and were ready to bring light back to the galaxy. Ryan looked at the tactical display one more time. 47 points of light, each representing thousands of humans who had refused to die quietly. Earth's children, grown strong in exile. Very well. All colonies, begin mobilization. We're going to war. He turned back to Ambassador Kethavar. Ambassador, humanity will assist in the defense of Federation worlds. But understand this. We're not doing it for you. We're doing it because genocide is wrong, no matter who the victims are. Admiral, we appreciate. We're not finished. When this war is over, there will be changes. No species gets abandoned again. No colonies get written off. No children get left to face monsters alone. If the Federation wants human protection, they'll accept human conditions. The alien nodded slowly. What are your terms? Ryan smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. You'll find out when we win your war for you. Because that's what's going to happen, Ambassador. 47 colonies of humans are coming to save you from a threat you can't handle alone. He cut the transmission and turned to his staff. Begin Operation Homecoming. It's time to bring our children home. And time to show the galaxy what they created when they abandoned us. The stars had never looked so bright with promise. The Federation capital world of Serenitas burned in 3 different places when the human fleet arrived. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Remembrance, watching Devourer ships tear through the planet's orbital defenses like paper. The Federation's most powerful world was losing badly. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender broadcast from the planetary government," reported Amy Brooks. She had transferred to Jake's ship when he got promoted to Fleet Command. "They're offering terms to the Devourers." Jake watched a Federation battleship explode in a ball of fire. The Devourer machines didn't seem interested in surrender. They wanted consumption, total and complete. "Any response from the Devourers?" "Negative, sir. They're just eating everything." The tactical display showed the scope of the disaster. 60 Federation ships destroyed. Orbital platforms consumed. Millions of civilians trapped on a burning planet while machine creatures decided whether to harvest them or just let them die. "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth Command," called. Lieutenant Tony Martinez. Admiral Clark's face appeared on the screen, broadcasting from Earth's command center. Behind him, Jake could see representatives from all 47 colonies. "All human forces, this is Admiral Clark. Remember why we're here. We're not here to save the Federation. We're here to stop genocide. Whatever they did to us, we don't. Let entire worlds die. That's what makes us human." Jake nodded to his crew. Around him, the bridge of the Remembrance hummed with activity. Lisa Kane had been promoted to Fleet Tactical Coordinator. Pete Sullivan now oversaw engineering for the entire human task force. Amy Brooks coordinated communications between Earth ships and colony fleets. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," Jake broadcast to the human fleet. "The Federation abandoned us, but we're still human, and humans don't watch genocide happen. All ships, attack pattern Omega." The human fleet moved like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Earth's disciplined naval formations combined with colonial innovation in ways that turned conventional space warfare on its head. Steve Parker's modified mining ships from Kepler's End led the charge, their weapons tearing through Devourer armor with surgical precision. "Jesus," Pete whispered, watching the tactical display. "Look at them go." The Keplers and ships weren't just fighting. They were dissecting the Devourer fleet, piece by piece. Mining lasers cut through machine hulls. Asteroid-moving equipment grabbed enemy ships and threw them into each other. Industrial tools became weapons of incredible destruction. But the real surprise came from Dr. Cruz's biological warfare ships from Green Valley. The agricultural colony had sent 12 vessels that looked more like flying gardens than warships. When they opened fire, the Devourers learned what biological warfare really meant. "Admiral, the Green Valley ships are releasing some kind of spore cloud," Amy reported. "It's eating the Devourer ships." Jake watched in amazement as machine vessels simply dissolved when the organic weapons touched them. Metal turned to dust. Circuits failed. Entire Devourer ships crumbled like they were made of old paper. "That's impossible," Lisa said. "You can't eat metal." "Apparently you can if you're Helen Cruz," Jake replied. The battle turned into a demonstration of what 23 years of abandonment had created. Every human colony had developed weapons and tactics that the Federation couldn't imagine. Terra's edge ships moved with impossible speed, their hybrid human-alien engines outrunning everything the Devourers could field. New Shanghai's information warfare specialists crashed Devourer command networks, turning entire machine fleets into floating scrap. Rocky Point's underground fortress ships proved nearly indestructible, serving as mobile command centers that coordinated the entire human offensive. But it was Diana Foster's colonial militia that delivered the killing blow. Her mixed fleet of colony ships attacked with a coordination that spoke of years fighting together. They moved like a single organism, each ship knowing exactly where every other ship would be. "Devourer command ship identified," Diana reported, over the fleet channel. "All colony units converge on target. Jake watched as 47 different colony groups focused their fire on a single massive machine vessel. The Devourer command ship was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons that could destroy planets. It had seemed invincible when the battle started. It lasted 3 minutes under concentrated human assault. "Command ship destroyed," Pete reported, his voice filled with awe. "Sir, the entire Devourer fleet is retreating." Jake looked at the tactical display. Where moments before there had been thousands of enemy ships, now there were only scattered survivors fleeing in all directions. The machine creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for decades were running from human farmers, miners, and engineers. "All ships pursue and destroy," Jake ordered. "Don't let any of them escape to report back." The hunt that followed was methodical and complete. Human ships chased down fleeing devourers with the patience of people who had learned to survive by being thorough. No enemy vessel escaped. No machine intelligence survived to warn others about what humanity had become. When it was over, Jake found himself staring at a tactical display that showed something unprecedented. A major devourer fleet had been completely destroyed by forces the Federation considered obsolete and abandoned. "Sir, transmission from the planetary government," Amy reported. The screen showed Ambassador Kethvar standing in what looked like a bombed-out government building. The alien diplomat's blue skin was covered in dust and his multiple arms shook as he spoke. "Admiral Morrison, on behalf of the Federation Council, I formally request immediate military assistance. We surrender to human command." Jake felt the eyes of his entire crew on him. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. The Federation, which had called humans too aggressive for civilized space, was asking to surrender to human authority. "Ambassador, the Federation doesn't surrender to Earth. The Federation joins humanity in protecting everyone, but on our terms." "What terms?" Jake looked around his bridge. Lisa at tactical, Amy at communications, Pete at engineering. All of them humans who had learned to fight in the dark. All of them products of 23 years of abandonment. No species gets abandoned again. No colonies get written off. No children get left to face monsters alone. And if anyone tries to repeat what you did to us, they'll face every human colony in the galaxy. The alien nodded frantically. "Agreed. Completely agreed." "Good. Now let's talk about rebuilding your defenses. Because this was just one devourer fleet. There are more coming, and next time, we're going to be ready." Jake turned to his crew. "Amy, open a channel to all human ships." The communication system carried his voice to thousands of human personnel across dozens of ships. Earth crews and colonial crews all working together for the first time in 23 years. People of Earth and the colonies, today we prove something important. The galaxy tried to abandon us. They tried to make us disappear. Instead, they created something they never expected. He paused, looking out at the stars where human ships patrolled the space around a saved world. They created a people who refused to let others suffer what we suffered. They created protectors. They created guardians. They created humans who remember what abandonment feels like and will never let it happen again. The response came from 47 colonies and Earth itself, thousands of voices speaking as one. We remember. 6 months after the Battle of Serenitas, Admiral Jake Morrison walked through the halls of the new Galactic Defense Headquarters on Luna. The building was a symbol of how much had changed. Human architects had designed it. Colony engineers had built it. And for the first time in galactic history, it was run by people who understood what it meant to be abandoned. The war against the Devourers wasn't over, but it had changed completely. 3 more major battles had been fought, and 3 more Devourer fleets had been destroyed by combined human Federation forces. The machine creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for decades were learning to fear a new sound: the approach of human ships. "Admiral, the Council is ready for you," said Commander Amy Brooks. She wore the new uniform of the Galactic Defense Force, a design that mixed Earth military tradition with colonial practicality. On her shoulder was the patch that had become famous across the galaxy, a simple star with the words, "Never Forgotten," underneath. Jake entered the council chamber and took his seat at a table that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Around the table sat representatives from Earth, the 47 colonies and 12 Federation species. For the first time, humans weren't asking for a seat at the galactic table. They were offering seats at their table. Admiral Ryan Clark spoke, first in status report on the Frontier Defense Network. Governor Carl Hayes activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's outer rim. What had once been empty space marked as forbidden zones now sparkled with defensive installations and patrol routes. All 47 colonies are fully operational as frontier defense stations, Hayes reported. New Dakota alone has trained defensive specialists for 12 other worlds. Our biological warfare capabilities now protect 43 systems. Dr. Helen Cruz nodded from her seat representing the scientific colonies. The bio-network expansion is ahead of schedule. Any devourer force that enters protected space faces immediate organic countermeasures. We've had 7 attempted incursions in the past month. 0 successful penetrations, Jake smiled. The Federation had tried to make the outer rim into a wasteland where humans could be forgotten. Instead, it had become the most heavily defended region of the galaxy. Steve Parker leaned forward. Mining and manufacturing output is up 300% from pre-war levels. Kepler's End is supplying weapons to 40 different species. Rocky Point's fortress complexes can shelter entire civilian populations during attacks. What about ship production? Asked Admiral Clark. Diana Foster answered for the Colonial Fleet commanders. Terra's Edge shipyards are producing 100 new vessels per month. New Shanghai's information warfare capabilities are being integrated into all Federation communications. Every species now has access to human tactical networks. Ambassador Kethvar, who had become the Federation's liaison to human command, shifted nervously in his seat. Admiral Morrison, the Council has received your proposal for expanding the defense network. Some members are concerned about the scope. Jake looked at the alien diplomat. 6 months ago, Kethvar had been desperately asking for human help. Now he was worried about humans having too much influence. What specifically concerns them, Ambassador? The proposal to establish human-led defensive positions around all Federation core worlds. Some feel this gives humanity too much control over galactic security. Jake stood up and walked to the holographic display. With a gesture, he changed it to show recent battle reports. Dozens of successful defenses, hundreds of saved worlds, millions of lives protected. Ambassador, let me explain something about human psychology. We don't want to control the galaxy. We want to make sure no one ever gets abandoned again. He pointed to a sector map showing refugee settlements. These are the camps we've established for displaced populations. Any species, any world. If you're running from the devourers, humans will take you in, no questions asked. Lisa Kane, now serving as Director of Tactical Operations, activated another display. This is the early warning network. Any ship in distress anywhere in the galaxy can reach a human response team within 6 hours. Any colony under attack can have human reinforcements within 24 hours. But the cost, Kethvar began. The cost is paid by people who remember what it feels like to be forgotten. Jake interrupted. Earth provides the administrative structure. The colonies provide specialized capabilities. Every species that wants protection contributes what they can. No one pays more than they're able. No one gets left behind because they can't afford help. Governor Hayes stood up. Ambassador, let me tell you about human economics. When the Federation abandoned us, we learned to make everything we needed from nothing. Scarcity isn't our enemy anymore. It's our teacher. Marie Jackson nodded from her position as Director of Colonial Defense. Every colony that was abandoned became self-sufficient. We don't need Federation resources to survive, but we're willing to share our capabilities to help others survive. Jake looked around the table at faces that represented the greatest military alliance in galactic history. Not because humans had conquered anyone, but because they had refused to let anyone else be conquered. The Federation is asking the wrong question, he said. You're worried about human control. You should be worried about human memory. What do you mean? Kethvar asked. We remember every colony that was abandoned, every distress call that was ignored, every species that was written off as expendable. That's not a threat, Ambassador. It's a promise. Amy Brooks activated the final display. It showed children from dozens of different species learning together in schools on human colonies. Alien families working alongside human families in shared communities. Multi-species crews serving on human ships. This is what we're building, Amy said. Not human empire, not human control. Human memory, turned into human protection. Dr. Cruz leaned forward. The biological networks I've developed can protect any carbon-based life form. Steve's mining techniques work on any asteroid field. Diana's tactical coordination can integrate any species' capabilities. But all under human command, Kethvar pointed out. Jake sat back down and looked directly at the alien ambassador. Yes, because humans are the only species in this galaxy that has learned what abandonment actually costs. He gestured to his staff. Every person at this table was either abandoned themselves or chose to serve with people who were abandoned. We know what it feels like. We know what it does to you. And we've decided that no one else should ever have to learn. Admiral Clark stood up. Ambassador, the Federation can accept human leadership in galactic defense, or it can try to handle the next Devourer offensive alone. But understand this. If you choose to handle it alone, and you fail, and people die because you were too proud to accept help, then you become responsible for those deaths. The chamber fell silent. Jake looked at the faces around the table. Humans who had been forgotten, allies who had been saved, and Federation representatives who were still learning what it meant to have protectors instead of just governors. The choice is simple, Jake said finally. Help us build a galaxy where no one gets abandoned, or go back to the old way and hope you're never the one who needs help. Kethvar looked at his notes for a long moment. When he looked up, something had changed in his expression. Admiral Morrison, the Federation Council formally accepts human leadership of galactic defense operations. With one condition. What condition? That you teach our children what you've learned about survival, so that if the worst happens again, they'll be ready. Jake smiled. Ambassador, that's not a condition. That's the whole point. He stood up and walked to the window overlooking Earth. Below, ships from 47 colonies worked alongside Federation vessels, all flying the same flag. A simple design. Stars scattered across darkness with the words, "Never forgotten" at the bottom. The galaxy had abandoned them, Earth had remembered, and now no one would ever be alone in the dark again. The new order wasn't built on conquest or control. It was built on memory. Human memory of what it meant to be forgotten, and human determination that it would never happen again. Outside the window, patrol ships headed out to the rim carrying mixed crews and shared purpose. The galaxy was learning a new lesson. When you abandon humans and expect them to die quietly, you discover instead that they learn to make sure no one else ever has to die alone. That was the human way. That was the new galactic order. Remember, everyone, protect everyone. Never let anyone face the dark alone. The stars had never looked so bright with promise.